Awesome. Well, welcome to Sibs Read Smut podcast. I'm Helen.
I'm Ned.
This is a podcast where we read, rate, and review your favorite, but mostly our favorite, or just books that we kind of feel like we have to read. That's tonight. Dirty romance books, so smut novels. If you have questions, suggestions, you want to reach out to us, we are all over the socials these days. Catch us on TikTok and Instagram at Sibs Read Smut. That was not taken by anybody else, believe it or not. Or you can email us at sibsreadsmut@gmail.com. Also,
you keep saying TikTok. And I keep asking.
We do
this
have a
every
TikTok.
Week. We do have a TikTok.
We have a TikTok. Have I learned how to post on it? No. I think I put one thing on there, and that was because my Gen Z friend at work helped me do it. So I will get. Hey, I'll get better. I'll improve. At least this book is covered in like Blackberries and like early 2000s tech. So let's be clear about that.
The email talk in this was wow.
Especially we'll get into it.
Proceed.
Sorry, people don't even know what book we're talking about. We're talking about 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James this week. And so, spoiler alert, we talk about these books start to finish. You get all the spoilers. This book is like 14 years old at this point, so I assume you've read it. But if you haven't and you are like dying to catch up on like early 2010s cultural phenomenons, go ahead and read it and come back and we'll go from there. So Ned, do you have an intro for us that you probably wrote yourself?
I do have an intro that I absolutely did not write myself.
What? I wonder who wrote it.
I know. Who could possibly have written this? I have not pre-read this
Say
before.
every word. Say every word, including what's in parentheses.
I have not pre-read this, so here we go. Despite its title, this is not a boring paint-by-numbers book. Meet young, innocent Anastasia Steele, who is finishing college and, gasp, still a virgin. Naturally, she decides to enter into a BDSM relationship with Christian Grey, a billionaire business owner with a mysterious past. 50 Shades of Fucked Up? Or there's not actually a question mark there, sorry. What follows are many run-on sentences, vanilla sex, red room sex, lots of references to early 2010s technology, and a complete shift in the cultural zeitgeist around smut books and butt plugs. Oh, and did I mention sex? Will Anastasia and Christian stay handcuffed together for eternity? Listen in and find out. Laters, baby. Halfway through my notes, just to start this off the right way, I just started referring to him as Chrissy.
Chrissy.
Chrissy. Just Chrissy says this and Chrissy says that. I was like, this whole Christian and Mr. Grey shit. I'm like, yuck.
Oh, that was fun to have you read that.
Laters, baby.
Laters, baby.
Oh, man. Holy crap.
Cultural zeitgeist around butt plugs.
Which, no ass play in this entire book. Just spoilies.
There was butt plugs.
No,
they
when?
talk about them extensively.
They talked about them a lot, but he never put one in her butt.
I feel like
I'm talking very loud, and the people walking in the hallway outside of my apartment are going to be like, "What the fuck is he talking about in there?"
Butt plugs and BDSM. You're in for it tonight. Your neighbors are going to have a real treat on their hands.
Oh man! Wow.
Yeah. So to tee it up for context, so obviously 50 Shades of Grey came out 2011, was like a huge phenomenon in culture. I obviously read it at the time or soon after. Ned had never read it until right now for you guys.
Literally the last 2 days.
So I am dying to hear just general consensus, Ned.
Of
what do you think of this like cultural phenomenon? Do you believe that it deserves its place in history?
No way. No way. I mean, it absolutely did. I mean, I remember the talk about what how it opened up doors for, romance books and everything else. I remember hearing about it and knowing that it existed and whatever else. But after reading it, no. There's so many better books out there.
Well, And to your point too, it's a lot more tame, like sexually,
way
than other
tamer.
books that we've read, which actually surprised me. I was like, wait. I reading the research about it. It's like BDSM this and butt plugs that, and then you actually read it and you're like, oh well, this is no pucking around.
Yeah, I mean, maybe books 2 and 3 get a little more, explicit or whatever. But it was, okay, yeah, he handcuffed her a little bit and smacked her clit with the riding crop.
Oh, okay.
Boom goes the dynamite.
I think we can tell that you preferred pucking around over 50 Shades.
Oh yeah. I mean, I took a lot of notes on this book, and
I'm sure you did.
And a lot of them are like just random things. Like the sex scenes were actually relatively intricate, and I thought were pretty well written for the most part.
Oh, okay.
The rest of the book the dialogue was stilted. Everyone seemed to just want to use big words for no reason. Everyone kind of sounded the same. But the sex scenes were actually very well written, I thought. And just the rest of the book was terrible. Maybe terrible's harsh, but it was not my favorite, I'll put it that way.
Well, there's not a lot that I think there's not a lot of original ideas that you and I are going to bring to the conversation about this book.
Yeah.
15 years in, the internet is already kind of ravaged this book. If you do any research on it, it gives it the due respect of like this changed a lot, both in the publishing world, in like people being able to talk about sex, kind of like in a lot of ways. So again, for more context, so this was, and you and I will not understand this was actual Twilight fan fiction. You've not read Twilight?
No.
I've not read Twilight. So I was talking to another Gen Z colleague today who was like, you have to read it. And so I'm going to, based on her suggestion. But E.L. James.
For the pod?
Possibly. I put it on our list, so maybe we'll get to it down the road. But so E.L. James, huge Twilight fan, and she started publishing this like story essentially under some like crazy like horny seahorse or something, like some like odd name, as like an anonymous poster on a Twilight fan fiction website. And their original names, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to go look at my notes, but they were not named Anastasia and Christian. Let's see if I can find it. And so they have this like so basically that's where she came from. And so originally written as Master of the Universe. That was like Christian Gray's thing. So
she's British too, mind you, for all
E.L.
those people
James is British.
that might not have known. Because there were a lot of turns of phrase in here where I'm like, that just sounds right. I mean, I even have a note in here that was like, I don't know if it's the person reading it or if it's my dumb American ears, but like some of this just sounds odd when read out loud.
Both. Just kidding. So she actually ended up getting kicked off of the fan fiction website because it was too explicit, but so then she was publishing it on her own website, and then she eventually got it self-published, or it got picked up by a publisher, and then that's when like everything happened. And so so there's 3 books, and then there's another series now, like in the last like 7 or 8 years, were from Christian Gray's perspective. So that's one of the things you were like, it's only told from Anastasia's perspective. And we are much more accustomed these days to romance novels that have like the dual perspective
back and forth. And it was tiring, I think.
Yeah.
The dual perspective gives you a break from listening to one person's inner thoughts. And
Yeah.
and Anastasia is admittedly, even herself is inexperienced and she's still a virgin. She's a little naive in a lot of ways, and she is second guessing herself with her inner goddess that she talks about constantly, and who is like her like devil on the shoulder, like giving her snide looks and all this kind of stuff. But I was like, holy shit, she's not very nice to herself throughout the whole book. And it's like, and she's like she's clumsy. and she falls, like the first time she meets him, she falls into his
Yes.
office, which I thought was actually pretty funny. And then she was all flustered, which was actually described very well. And she like drops her recorder and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, that was actually an interesting, good scene, because you could feel her uncomfortableness. And then, but then she's like saying all these big words, and I just didn't get the characters that much, and it was like, okay, why? Yeah,
I don't. There's not a great why. I like, because I genuinely think this was written as like originally as fan fiction. I love a good backstory, and I feel like this, like their backstories came around. Like you learned a lot about his fucked up childhood, and then
crack whore mom and everything else.
Yeah, like the early childhood stuff, hunger, crack whore mom, etc. And then as a teenager,
Don't be a
like,
crack whore, Helen.
so far so good, but
Yeah.
you never know. And then as a teenager, the Mrs. Robinson character coming in and like teaching him, he was
Raped.
sub to her dom.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of critiques online too from like the actual BDSM kink community that is like, we hate this book. They are portraying a very abusive relationship, power dynamic. Like it is not what like like the actual BDSM community would want people to know about their community. So that does, I mean, there's a lot of articles online about that. But to your point, like that's trauma. Like he was clearly taken advantage of by somebody who was in power of him, and then he is now trying to find that power.
Yeah, I mean, he was statutory raped.
100%.
Yeah.
And then now he's not, I mean, she's not underage, but like there's a clear power dynamic. Like he runs
He's
company.
not that much older than her.
He's 27, she's 22.
Yeah.
Maybe 23. Maybe. But like she's this like young
she's graduating from school, and he is he's a tycoon of his own, like, weird company that doesn't really do a lot that we know about. But yeah, she's a quivering mess, and I just went horny. Quivering mess of female hormones, like after the first time describing him. And she's never had sex. She's never even kissed a guy. Well, that was a question that I had.
She's kissed somebody.
Well, she said the first 3 chapters are all told from her perspective. A little weird that we haven't heard from Christian yet was one of my notes. But then it goes, she has this whole speech about she's never found the right guy, and whatever else. And I'm like, you still haven't, honey. But I was like, ooh.
Sassy.
I was like, is this the movie that never been kissed? She's never wanted a kiss from the people that she's kissed, or she's never actually been kissed. I couldn't tell one way or the other. It wasn't clear from the text.
Care enough to think that hard about it. In my mind, she'd been kissed. Like, I feel like it's hard to get to 22 and not have been kissed.
And then she was
kissed, at least. Yeah,
and then he's sticking to her like glue after that. She works in a hardware store, and she's terrible at DIY. Like, she just was like put in this hardware store so that he could buy like cups
Dom stuff.
and stuff, and it's like, okay, that's a little odd, but whatever. And oh my God, 3 or 4 times at the beginning of this book, she keeps referring to the green man, meaning the walk signal. And I'm like, what are you like she just kept going, and she would just drive these little words home that were just got stuck in my craw. She was like, we were working at the hardware store, and we were absolutely besieged. We were besieged by customers, and and she said it like 3 or 4 times in like 4 paragraphs, and I'm like, what are you doing? And take away her thesaurus to begin with, because the amount of big words that she jammed in there was shoehorned into this was like, wow.
There was one of the articles that I read about this book did like a word count for the amount of times that she said like baby and some of the other phrases that were just like continually used. Like, I don't make love, I fuck.
Yeah.
That was in there
or
17 times.
Mr. Steele, and they continuously refer to each other as Miss Steele and Mr. Gray, and it's like
I wore my gray sweater in honor. It's hard to see. It looks green in this light, but it's gray.
That ring light is not doing that color any justice.
No, it's warming it up.
Yeah. I was like, but she's a real dick to herself.
Yeah.
And the whole super innocent thing was like, okay, she'd never been drunk, she's never been kissed, and she never wanted to be kissed or whatever. Or if she did kiss people, she didn't really want to kiss them. But yeah, she's never had any of these,
tradition, like classic kiss
relationship
moments.
Things.
Yeah.
And then she decides, like, upon, after meeting Christian or whatever else, she's like, I'm going to just go out and get drunk with her best friend, who is also a real piece of shit and acts like Christian Grey more than she wants to admit. She's absolutely domineering too. And I'm like, oh, you just attract these kinkers to your, to your person, because like your best friend is absolutely as bad as Christian, if not worse.
But I mean, to that point, it sounds like this is her type, right? Like she appreciates, I don't know if it's because, I mean, it's hard for me to like read too much into her like background with her mom and her stepdad, who she actually is like more like a dad than anybody else in her life. And I don't know if she seeks out people who help make her feel like they have control in the good sense of the word, of like things are stable. And Kate Kavanaugh or whatever the roommate's name, like she has money, she's comfortable, like she provides a stability for Anastasia that then she just sort of jumps from the stability that Kate provides to the stability that Christian provides. And
she's
Kate
like, no,
like
I don't want it, but she kept taking it all.
Yeah, she's like, oh yeah, I'll take a car. Oh, a computer, sure, a BlackBerry, why not? It's like, okay,
yeah.
all right,
well,
girl.
and Chrissy keeps telling Anna, like, you need to know your limits. You need to know about your limits and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, like, but the whole contract and the whole everything, which she never does sign, is like, all right, dude, whatever, his rules. And I have a note in here that was like, listen, she's going in this entire thing for like the wrong reasons. It's like, you're going into this relationship with the express interest of trying to change this dude. He's told you exactly what he wants. He has a contract written up about the entire thing. Like, when somebody tells you who they are, listen. And if somebody shows you who they are, then believe
them.
It's like, my God, it was weird. We haven't even really talked about any of the plot stuff yet, which is, I think, a little.
Is there any?
Well, I mean, she graduates from school. He's the keynote speaker at the graduation
ceremony,
and then he's like, she's just like sniffing him. And it's giving her the pussy clench. Like, she's like, which I feel like is becoming more of a thing nowadays, where they're like, his scent was so intoxicating, or whatever else. This seems to like have, I don't, not that I've read a whole bunch of those Fabio type books back in the day, but I'm pretty sure they're not like, his musk made my lips quiver.
I think they are. I think they are.
Okay.
We'll have to read one and find out.
Yeah, well, put one on the list.
I'm glad.
But the mom literally says something to the effect of, "Never trust a man who can dance," and I'm like, well, what would Mr. Maladia have to say about that? Our dance teacher from when we were in grade school. We went to and took ballroom dancing classes. It was the whole thing on Fridays.
Oh my God. I had to wear white gloves. Girls had to wear white gloves. And you had to dress up, and you had to wear like a shirt and tie and coat,
No, we had to
right?
wear suits.
You had to wear a full suit.
Yeah.
And in my I think it was right when I was starting, I was like kind of excited because you were doing it. And I was like, oh, if this is cool, if Ned's doing it, then like I'm excited. And at my first dance class, this kid I think he thought he was taking his own hand to wipe his nose, but he took my white glove and wiped his nose with my white glove. And that was disgusting. And then I've never thought that would come up again. Honestly, I haven't thought about Mr. Melodier or those dance classes in a long time. Thank you for reminding
You're welcome.
us. But maybe that's why you are not dating anybody. It's because you're such a good dancer.
Could be. Yeah, they can't trust me because I'm too good of a dancer.
Mr. Melodier taught you well. I think he's dead now.
I mean, he's got to be. He was probably in his 80s when we knew him.
No. That's the perception of a sixth grader is going to think that he was like 100, but I think he was probably like 50.
No. We'll ask Mom and Dad.
Yeah, I think he's dead though.
They're at the bar, which was another scene where it was like her friend Jose, who's like, she's always like, I thought he was a brother or whatever else, and it's like her sweetness seems to be like leading
obtuse.
on, but Jose also seems like one of those good guys. You know, it's that good guy bullshit where he's like, she owes me something because I've been so nice to her over the years, and so he tries to make out with her outside of the bar, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you just sexually assaulted her. And it was there's
nothing
a lot of assault
compared to what Christian Grey's gonna do.
Yeah, there's a lot of assault in this book, but technically she asked for everything she got. So I mean, that's
okay.
It's assault. It's assault, but it's not. You know, she especially the spanking at the end where she goes, "I'm done." She totally egged him into it.
She consented. She did consent to most of what, except for the time that when he like didn't recognize her password or like her anyway. But
when was that? I don't remember the
might have been in a later book, but in my research she said that not password, the
safe
like
word.
Safe word, yeah. And he was like, okay. Then he kept going, but that might have been in a later book.
Yeah, I don't.
You've not read the later books.
No, and I probably won't.
That was going to be my last question to you. Instead of would you recommend this, my question to you was going to be, would you read the next two books?
The one thing I would maybe do is read the first book from Christian's perspective.
Okay.
You know, that I would maybe read that one. Also, released 7 years later. Yeah. Maybe the editors got a hold of it and, you know, helped it a little bit more.
Better written.
There's a lot of stuff that I'm like, there's a bunch of possessive bullshit in here that we've talked about on other podcasts. That's just like yucko. And I mean, you know, I should say this, not for us. It's, you know, it's for anyone who's into that sort of thing. They probably loved that aspect of this book, but I do not like that, and there was a lot of it in this book. So I mean, 16% in, we get our first smooch, which is
smooch
in the elevator.
Nerd. Oh, that was a sexy elevator kiss.
Yeah, it was you know, it was like pinning against the wall. It was very, and she just previously used his toothbrush, which I put in the notes, double yuck. I'm like, yucky.
I like that because she's just like fucking with him all the time. Like he is such like a stickler and like, I never like wear the same underwear twice or something, and then she's like, I used your fucking toothbrush. Like I feel like she's just fucking and like needling him, which I loved. So
yeah, well, and Chrissy keeps trying to warn her off and be like, you don't want this, you know. You don't want to be part of my world. And I kept going, part of my world, like fucking like the song
Disney,
from Aladdin.
Ariel. Oh
no, is it just Ariel?
Part of your world. Yeah, I thought that was Ariel when she wanted to be on land with legs.
Maybe, yeah. I thought it was Aladdin in my brain, but you're probably right. But all that being said, I'm like, just give her the D already, or however you do it in your BDSM world. But like, shut the fuck up about it, because you know it's like all of this, and we're not even 15% into the book, and I'm already sick of this. Stay away from me, you know. And he hasn't even found out that she's a virgin yet. Like he still thinks she's just someone that I'm going to dominate, and whatever else. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And I was still confused on whether that was her first legitimate kiss or not. But that's, whatever. And then her makeover to go out with him later that week, and Kate pulls her aside and is like, it was time consuming, humiliating, and painful. And by the way, full bush in this book too.
Well, but she said that she made her like shave and do stuff I think
she trimmed it down, but she had pubic hair this whole time, which is it's not brought up in that much detail in other books, but it was a point of contention where they brought it up multiple times. And I'm like, oh, okay, 2010s were a different age apparently.
It's those British. They like a full bush.
Oh yeah. And she wants to lick him like a cat when they're in the helicopter together.
Oh my God.
I'm just going to jump through all these scenes that I'm like, this was weird, whatever
There
else.
was one thing where she said she wanted to taste a Christian flavored popsicle. I was going to put it in the description.
It was my favorite flavor, Christian.
Ever wondered what's a Christian Grey popsicle taste like?
Christian Grey flavored popsicle. Yeah, I have that written down too. Okay, so, but I mean, so finally she admits that she's a virgin to him, and he's shocked. He's flabbergasted.
What?
He's like,
Oh, my
you're letting me
goodness.
talk about all this stuff, and you've never even had sex before? And he's like,
We need to
she's
fix
like,
that.
nobody's come up to scratch. Like it was like, another cat reference where I'm like, okay.
Oh.
So he goes, all right, I'm gonna make love to you or whatever else, like to get it out of the way and show you what normal is before I debase you, which, like as we talked about already, wasn't that crazy. But I about 22% in, that's where the first full on sex scene happens. I called it virginity blaster. The first dick dosery.
Oh my God.
And she's walking to the bedroom and she's like, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then she's feeling everything in her groin. Like he's rubbing her and she's feeling it downstairs. He's like grabbing her nipple and she's like, I can feel it in my groin. And I'm like, okay. That's a lot. And then she sees his dick for the first time, and she's like, will it fit? And he's like, you expand too, honey.
Ew. That's so gross. I feel like that's a very common, romance novel. Like, oh my God, it was so big.
Yeah,
there was
looks like a baseball bat or something. And it's like, my God.
There was a TikTok that I saw the other day where it's like one of those ones where it says nobody, and then it's like men in romance novels, and then it's just an elephant flopping his entire trunk on a metal thing, and it just goes plonk. It's like a huge thing.
Absolutely. That's what every single thing is. It's like women think porn gives men unrealistic expectations in the bedroom, and I'm like these books give women unrealistic expectations. And then speaking of those TikTok videos, every time you ask a woman okay, here, pull a measuring tape and show us what 6 inches looks like on a measuring tape, and they're like, this big? Or it's like, you've been lied to, ladies. I don't know who the fuck you know that, but it's crazy.
Listen.
But their first time out, he goes, you're mine, and I'm like, yucky. And then there's lots of groaning, and I'm like, luckily this book was read by one voice.
Yeah.
And they didn't do all the sound effects.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of.
I think this is a very early iteration of
this is 2011.
this type of thing. Yeah, but I don't know when the audiobook was made.
Probably soon after.
Maybe. But and then she sees his sad side and his little emo side, and I'm like,
playing the piano in the middle of the night.
Where? Fuck off. And then her line where she's like, just fucked hair does not suit me. And I'm like, that made me
But it
giggle.
suits Chrissy.
Yeah, but it absolutely suits Chrissy. and then he finally shows her like, hey, now that I've given you some straight vanilla sex, let me show you my red room of pain.
Oh my God.
Or that's what she calls it. He calls it his playroom, and she goes, what, like
Nintendo?
Xbox? Yeah, are you going on there and play Xbox?
That was a hilarious line.
Oh my God, that made me laugh so hard.
Yes.
But then they quickly follow that up with, he's like, I got to clean you off. And they go into the bathroom, which, the sex was very like 2 chapters apart, and then a couple of chapters of whatever. And then like 2 chapters back to back. There was a lot of grouped sex in there, not group sex, just grouped sex. And so the next one comes in the next chapter 9, 28% in, and I called it Rub-a-Dub-Dub Bathtub Chub. Oh my God. And that's where she's like, I always wondered what a Christian Grey flavored popsicle would taste like, and whatever else. And he's like, you get an A in dick sucking or whatever. I'm like, good God.
You're naming these chapters like you're in a Lucy Score novel.
Oh yeah.
Like these chapters are just like chapter 2, and you're like rub-a-dub-dub.
Bathtub chub.
Bathtub chub.
Oh yeah, and then the mom shows up the next morning too, after she just got plowed all night long, and
Christian's mom.
Chrissy's mom, and he says some comment about how, oh yeah, that was pretty vanilla sex, and she was like, I thought it was chocolate fudge brownie sex with sprinkles on top or whatever, and I was like, okay, and her subconscious keeps calling her a hoe, which like we said earlier, she's very mean to herself throughout most of this book, and expecting him to stay. And then we find out about his statutory rape. He's a sub for his mom's friend who was like raping him for years. I mean, at some point he was of age, but at that point she's groomed him pretty much. Yeah. You don't see that too much, outside of like art teachers in schools doing that on the news or whatever, but you don't see that too.
Why art teachers? I
don't know. They seem like bohemian enough to think that that's okay.
I feel that's so oddly specific. I feel like it's never the art teacher.
Maybe. I don't know. I just made that up. Okay. I don't have any statistics. I'm not a mathematician.
Obviously, it was not the math teacher.
Oh yeah. Casey I was talking with him the other day, and he said, I've listened to the first episode or two, and I can't believe you haven't brought up Protect Your Carnal Treasure yet.
I've thought about that.
And she in here, she goes, I'm tired from all the carnal exertions. And I was like, that's a perfect time to bring up Protect Your Carnal Treasure, which I used to shout at you in college.
When I left a party in college.
When you'd leave a party, I'd be like, Protect Your Carnal Treasure.
Yes, and thanks to you,
I not embarrassing for you.
Did not have any real dates in college. Thank you for that.
I was a great big brother.
You were, actually. It was a very fun college experience.
Oh yeah, we went to the same college, by the way, for those listeners out there that did not pick that up.
One out.
Context clues, motherfuckers, smutters, get your heads in the game. And then there's the legal doc stuff that was like, okay, weird. She never did end up signing it though.
No.
And then I was like, oh, the emails. I was like, in what fucking world do you swap subject lines every time you respond to an email? I'm like, that didn't exist. I don't know where she got that or what kind of UK email program they had where you changed the subject line of every email you replied to. It was maddening.
Well, and then listening to it as well.
Yeah.
That having them read out to, from, date, time, subject line.
Yeah.
Content, from, best. Oh my God. It was bad. I did start fast forwarding because this is a 20-hour book.
Yeah.
And that's just like, there are things that happen in books like 2 and 3 that in my mind from 10 years ago, I'm remembering, but they're not in this book, actually. They're in future books. And it's 20 fucking hours. That was too much. It was just too much.
It was long. It was a long one. And it was, and the one voice, I think if it would have been both of their perspectives put together,
yeah,
I think it could have been a little bit more, you would have gotten a break from stuff a little bit more, other than her constant like naysaying of herself was really tiring. And then, the like almost 10 per, like five or 4 chapters later, they banged again in her apartment, and I called it the quiet copulation quest, because Kate was at the door, and Christian's like, you're gonna have to not make a sound when you orgasm, because Kate's probably listening at the door to see if I'm abusing you or something. So like that, I was like,
he was,
and he keeps saying, do you trust me? Do you trust me? I need you to trust me. I'm like, say trust more, motherfucker. It makes me really want to trust you.
Yeah.
And it's like, you keep saying that you want her to trust you, but you're not offering anything in the way of showing her that she can trust you. You just keep repeating yourself that she needs to trust you. And I'm like, what? This is, and then you keep being cold towards her and expecting her to like get it.
I think that's part of, and I think I'm reading too much into this. Like, I really don't think that E.L. James put all that much thought into it. But like, I think in my mind, just of course, the way that I like analyze things was, this is how he was taught that. Like, this is what he learned from his adopted parents, and like, this is what he learned with Mrs. Robinson, and like so he grew up. Like the first 4 years, he was super poor. Mom was a crack whore, yada, yada. Then he got adopted by this super rich family. And so he now has like a helicopter that he flies. And I just think that money and like gifts is his way of showing love, at least to begin. He just doesn't know how to show normal love. Like, he was never taught that, and his family is like his adoptive family is like relatively normal, I think, but the fact that his mom like never figured out that her friend was like fucking her child, and there's just certain things like I'm like, maybe they weren't paying super close attention.
But they're also uber respectful in their own right, that they are. She's like a highly practicing doctor, in the area, and I forget what the dad did. I think he was a professor or something. But it was like okay. And they adopted 3 kids. So it's like, the sister seemed like, I think I had it in my notes, fun, with a lot of U's in there, because she was exuberant and bouncing around and up in everybody's business. And I'm like, yeah. And Kate was being a real bitch on wheels at that party too. But we'll get there.
Hopefully quickly, because this is 20 hours long. So there's a lot to go through.
I know. I'm just reading the headlines.
Yeah,
of the
give
sex
me your sex. This is very interesting to me. Give me all of your.
Okay. Chapter 14, 46% through, was what I called the trussed up turkey slap dream, and
what? Say that again, slower.
Trussed up turkey slap dream.
What the fuck?
She's trussed up like a turkey, and he slaps her with a riding crop right on the clit, and boom goes the dynamite.
No. No.
And then she's just like, just keeping with this inner goddess talk. That's like whatever. And she's like, Chrissy's like, I want to meet your dad. And she's like, yeah, this is the man that deflowered me and wants to and wants me to enter into a BDSM relationship. I'm like, yeah,
if he only knew.
That seems about right. And then he's buying her computers, he's buying her cars. It's like, it's a very hooker type situation, it seems. And I'm like, all right, whatevs. And then chapter 5, like right after that, chapter 15, deal is made, now grab my wiener is the name of that chapter. She pretty much just like, I'm willing to try, and he's like, cool, now grab my dick. Yeah. Followed very quickly by chapter 16, 54%.
Okay.
A little light spanking pre-finger blast.
Oh God.
Yeah. There's lots of crying after that.
Yes.
He's sex on legs. I forgot to highlight one chapter here. Hold on, let me. for posterity. Let me get that highlighted here on the old records. There's
These will be in the Smithsonian one day, you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so that's chapter 18 now, 62% in. Sex Dungeon Slap and Tickle is the name of that one.
Jesus Christ.
He's got her trussed up and he's sniffing her panties like a real weirdo. Ugh. And she goes, "I fear my orgasm." And I'm like, okay, all right, fair enough. She keeps saying mercurial, which I was like, I don't know if that means what you think it means. I looked it up. It does mean how she's using it, but it was really
like
out
of, it felt weird.
Well, no, she's just using it all the time, telling everybody he's mercurial, saying, "Oh, he's really mercurial." I'm like, really?
Didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. And then he steals her panties, and she goes just beeve flapping in the breeze to this dinner party.
Oh yes.
Just and then
meeting the family.
Yeah, meeting the family. Just beeve out.
Beeve out.
Very beeve forward conversation.
Beeve forward. But there was a book I think we read or talked about recently where like it was Bad Girl Reputation, where she just didn't wear a bra. Or like he stole her bra, and so she went to dinner with like all of their family and friends, nips blasting, and then he like. So I actually feel like that's a pretty standard, like, thing to happen in these novels. But I'm not saying it was like out of left field. I'm just saying, it was. She made a big deal out of it. Yes, she did. That's very true.
Like, oh my God, I can't believe he didn't give him back, but I'm not going to ask for him back because I don't want anybody to know that I'm out here.
Well, she was the one that wouldn't wear. That was what I was thinking. She wouldn't wear underwear twice, so she like stole his underwear towards the beginning of the book because she was like, I don't want to put on my dirty underwear, and it was another instance.
Stole a pair of his boxers.
Yes, so it was like she used his toothbrush. She stole his boxers. She's
you
like
surprised me, and it's like you wore my boxers.
Girl.
Yeah, you were a virgin. Like all this stuff. I'm like, all right.
Wow.
And that's the party where Kate. She just keeps butting into her relationship. She told the dad that Chrissy and Anna were dating. She starts egging him on at the party, not realizing that every time Anna pisses off Chrissy, she's getting spanked or whatever. It's like, hey, Kate, quit being a bitch. You're really up in business that you have no business being in. Like,
do you feel like her character was necessary to move the story along, though? Like, do you feel like she was there as a plot device?
No, I feel like you could remove her from the story completely and it would be the exact same.
Okay.
Because she's basically just a sounding board for all of Anna's worst stuff in her own head, and she's meaner to herself than Kate is meaner to her. Yeah. And she tells the dad that they're dating, but who cares? That's one scene. We didn't need the dad to be a part of the story at all.
Yeah.
She instigates going back to see her mom in Georgia or whatever. She institutes any of the major changes herself, and Kate just gets her spanked a little bit more and butts into her relationship. She served very little to no purpose to the story in my mind. I wonder
if I have any friends that have gotten spanked because of my behavior.
Probably.
That Helen is such a bitch. I got spanked because she was so annoying.
And then they keep repeating the 50 Shades of fucked up, 50 Shades of this, 50 Shades of that, and I'm like, way to really beat that dead horse.
This whole book is beating a dead horse.
a rotted corpse. Chapter 20, 68% through. Thank God. Was the boat what I call the boathouse bangarang. He's like, I want to show you the grounds, and then he's like, I'm going to be the only one that comes right now. It reminded me of the first scene of Eastbound and Down, where he's like, I can flip it, but I can't smack it down. And she goes like, what does that mean? He's like, only one of us is going to come, and it's not, and it's not you.
God, I haven't seen that show in ages.
Oh my God, it's so good. But it's and then he's like, "You didn't want to fuck. It made me mad, and I want to make love. I want you to make love to me." And he gets mad. It's all weird.
Yeah,
weird
that's
shit.
Their whole thing.
And he's like, "Okay, I need to get you a little bit more into my world." And he's like, "Okay." So chapter 20, again later that same night. It's called Benoit Balls to the Walls.
Oh, yes.
Where he like shoves a bunch of Benoit balls in there and like makes her go and walk and get him a glass of water, and then we find out he has a crack whore mom after that. She's like, "If I do this for you, you need to tell me about your life. You need to tell me about your upbringing, whatever." And that just reminded me of watching Traffic with our parents when we were young, where we went out to dinner, and mom was so disgusted by the actions of the young woman in this movie that she just over dinner looked us dead in the eye and was like, "Whatever you do in life, don't be a crack whore."
That was like her motherly advice.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like, and my friend Kelly Curran was there for either for the initial advice or we were relaying it to her after. And to this day, she's like, the only advice I remember your mom ever giving was, don't be a crack whore.
Oh, I mean, she put on a birthday cake of mine.
She did.
Yeah.
The phrase has lived on in infamy, but
oh, yeah.
it
has lived in our family for 25 years.
Still.
I mean, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And the woman from Ralph's, our grocery store out here, called me in the morning.
Yeah. On your birthday. It was supposed to be a surprise.
It was supposed to be a surprise, but she called me and goes, "Is this what you really want on your cake?" And I was like, What's the quote? And she goes, "Happy birthday, Ned." I go, "Okay. Don't be a crack whore." And I went, "Absolutely. That needs to be on my cake. Make it as big as possible, please." Thanks, Mom.
Oh my God, that was so funny. The fact that they called you to confirm the phrase, like,
oh man,
I still wish you would have just showed up at the pub and your cake would have been there and you opened it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Although
it is a better story that they called you.
They called me to confirm the quote.
Excuse me.
You can also tell that I've started getting a little tired of naming these chapters. But chapter 21, 73% desktop doing it. Just straight to the point.
Desktop do-up.
That's much better. Bam! Boom goes the dynamite.
Gross.
Desktop do-up. Oh man. That's great, and I was like, she's literally doing everything you're not supposed to do in a relationship. Mm-hmm. She's trying to change him. She's expecting him to change. Mm-hmm. I was like what Mom used to say in taking us shoe shopping. Lots of mom quotes this episode.
She'll be happy.
If the shoe doesn't fit, if the shoe doesn't fit right immediately, then don't buy them. I'm like.
That's like a memorable quote for you from Mom growing up?
Yeah, not memorable, but like I remember going to the shoe store and it's like, hey, if they don't fit good right now, then they're not going to fit good later, so don't get them.
Fit well.
Good.
They don't fit good.
They don't fit good.
They don't fit good.
Dumbass honky.
They don't fit good.
And then I don't know if he comes up in he's got to come up in later books, but the publishing dude who was giving her weird vibes, he's probably some kind of domineering,
I think
fuckery
that's
guy
like the
later
whole
on.
second book. She's working for him in the second book, and he like comes on to her, and then, oh gosh, I don't remember, like something where like it's an issue, and then Christian finds out, and he like shows up to her work. He's like, "You're not working for this man anymore," and then she ends up working at Gray Enterprises.
Yeah, I could see. She was like,
teeing it up.
She was teeing it up, but she's like, "Oh my God, something about his eyes, or whatever else." I'm like, "Yeah, he's probably the exact same as Christian. It's just you like Christian's smell. He, makes your nethers clench." Mm-hmm. But then the mom, her mom, not our mom, her mom gives her the sage advice. She's like, "Oh my God, this is such good advice. Take him literally." And I'm like, she remembers all the nice things that he said to take literally, but not the mean things. When he's like, I'm gonna tie you up and put you in a crate and fly you around. I'm like, she forgets all about that conveniently.
Well, and her mom is on her 4th marriage, so like, grain of salt for that lady.
The first one died. The second one was with them a long time because that was her,
Ray.
who Anna calls dad,
Her, like, stepdad.
Yeah, and then she had 2 subsequent marriages. The 4th of which she's still married to at this point. And then she's on her period, which there's a lot of period talk in this. And
Your
I was
favorite.
like, hey, it's a natural thing. I don't mind. Except they made a very big point of it. He's like, are you still bleeding? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, oof. But so chapter 23, she is still Aunt Flo is still in town, and I called this chapter Red Snapper for One.
Oh my Oh my god, I'm crying.
That was my best one. Rub-a-dub-dub Bathroom Chub and Red Snapper for One are my 2 favorites from this episode for sure.
I can't come back from that. I don't know what to say.
Wow.
All right, well,
yeah.
that's the episode, folks. We'll see you next time. We'll see you next time.
I have very few notes left. We are almost there. Lots of pube talk, as I've already mentioned. Yeah. And then we already talked about this at the top. But when somebody tells you who they are, listen. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
And then there's another bathtub sex extravaganza, 85% in chapter 23 again. And then he opens up, and then yuck. And then chapter 25, 93% in. She gets home from visiting her mom. Welcome home, crotch blast. That's not my best work. And then he ties her up in the red room of pain again, blindfolded and earphones. I'm like, that's the first time. Well, and he tied her to the X that one time too. But I'm like, for me, there was only 2 scenes where I'm like, oh, okay. They actually get into a little bit of the kinky stuff. And then
I do think it comes up a lot more in the later books.
Yeah. And then he gives her one proper hard spanking, and she's like, get your shit together, I'm out of here. And then the book ends.
She leaves.
I'm like, okay, all right. That was a lot. It was, I was like, okay, but also, as we mentioned, from like pucking around was way more intricate sex-wise than this book was. But I mean, to your point early on, it did set the trend. It did start the whole, it led the way for all these powerful women.
Yes, I did not start it.
It started the modern age.
I think there have been bodice rippers forever. And, if you look at like Nora Roberts, like people have been writing these books for a long time. But I feel like they were always like in the back corner of the, bookstore, and they were always very like shielded.
It made it mainstream.
This became so mainstream, and I think everybody and it boosted. It was like right when the Kindle was coming out, so that was a huge boost for the Kindle because people didn't want to buy the hard copy and be seen reading it in public.
Well, the old lady on the plane that had her Benoit balls in next to you, that was like literally reading it and
I've
like
already
shaking
told that story on here.
Shaking her hips.
She plowed through the entire book, just cover out. Everyone knew what she was reading, and there I am, like trying to read on my Kindle and like hide the title at the top. And it was a cultural moment. Everybody was talking about this book. Everybody had to read it. Bookstores like couldn't keep it on the shelves, but like I think libraries tried to ban it, but then people were like, no, we want to read it, and so they got it. But there was it was a huge moment.
Yeah. Well,
all of this.
I started listening to this, a couple days ago, and I just started walking again to try not to be as, fat a piece of shit as I am right now.
Okay.
And my inner goddess has been very mean to me recently.
Yeah.
And
Come on.
but I took notes a couple different ways on this book.
Yeah.
One, I was voice dictating into my phone while I was out walking, and I was like, oh man, I better look around more because some of these notes are explicit and whatever else. And I'm like, okay. So then I started typing them into texting myself all of my notes, and then you almost fall down while walking down the street, and it's like, okay, then they come to pick me up off the sidewalk. The ambulance comes when I break my leg or whatever.
And your notes app is just open.
My notes app is open, and they're like, what is he listening to? And they put it up to their ear, and it's like, and I was blasting her, and it's like, oh man,
desktop doo-wop, dick,
desktop doo-wop. I'm changing that in my notes.
Swap.
I'm changing that in my notes right now, just to
for posterity.
It's so much better. Mm-hmm. Desktop doo-wop.
No, I think about that all. I mean, that's like me driving into my parking garage and like having to pause it so that I can, but I feel like also you're in LA. So like, I actually don't feel like people would be all that surprised if they're like, oh, this guy must
at
be
7:30 in the morning when you're walking
porn
around.
Producer.
Yeah, the Vivid building did used to be right up the street from my house. I actually worked in that building.
Call me Vivid.
I worked on a TV show, yeah. Ugh. You never wanted to take the elevator in that place. It was yucky. There was probably so many fluids in there.
I doubt they use the elevators to film, but
they absolutely shot in the elevators.
To that entire industry. Very challenging industry to be in. Mad respect.
Mad respect.
So, will you watch the movies?
Ooh, I was not expecting that question. Maybe. I mean, I assume that somebody else wrote the scripts, so
nope.
She wrote the scripts too.
Sorry, there were two other people that wrote the scripts, but part of this whole drama. So
I read that quote in your notes too. I peeped your notes.
Which part?
And I saw that
Dakota Johnson.
Dakota Johnson came out and was like, she was a nightmare.
Yep. She said that they
pretty much just writing off all hopes of ever getting E.L. James on the podcast.
I don't think E.L. James has written anything else, and also E.L. James has been ripped apart. Like the shit that is on the internet about this book is kind of really mean. Like if she wasn't just so fucking rich from how much money she's made off of all of this. I mean, like, these 50 Shades world.
These Goodreads comments are brutal.
Thank God she just has a fuck ton of money. And I think her husband is rich as well. Like a lot of people were saying like, oh, well, she was writing the fan fiction, like her husband was just floating them. And then now she's obviously like super fucking rich. I don't think she's written anything else besides 50 Shades. And then there's 3 books.
No, there's a couple other series that she has.
All right. Well, I have not read them.
Mr. and Mrs. There's 2 books in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so Dakota Johnson came out recently describing her experience of making the movie and said that E.L. James was on set and they were basically like fully making 2 films, like the film that E.L. James wanted to see. So they did bring in writers but E.L. James was like, no, you have to do it this way. And so they would film her way and then they would just film it their own way anyway. And so she said it was just chaos and terrible experience. Kel Surprise, E.L. James controlling. Wow. What? Like, I mean, it just makes sense that she
wrote it so well.
Yeah, she's obviously a control freak. My other favorite review of this book that I found online was from Salman Rushdie, who I am not fucking you. He fucking with you. Sorry. Salman Rushdie.
Helen.
Sorry.
Jesus.
Yeah. That's a little creepy. I am not fucking with you. Any of you. Salman Rushdie has read this. And he said, this is a direct quote from him, "I've never read anything so badly written that actually got published. It made Twilight look like War and Peace." That is an actual quote from Salman Rushdie, who I was like, what? He just seems like such a scholarly person that like this book would never enter his like reading space. But then I actually Googled him. He's been married like 4 times, and
And horror.
I'm a little bit, but I just it's like there's all these quotes from like, and I was like, it's fucking Salman Rushdie. Like, are you kidding? And he has read this, so goes to show that a lot of everybody has read this, and now finally Ned has joined.
Yeah,
The crew.
finally part of the tribe.
Part of the tribe, but
I could have probably not.
Never needed to read this. That's kind of how I felt about. That's kind of how I still feel about Twilight, but I'm getting some pressure to fill in that piece.
It's a staple of the genre. Like, we had to. If we weren't doing this podcast, I probably would have put it off and not done it. But as reading smutty books, that was such a cultural event that we have to, and especially with me not having read it, it's kind of a no-brainer that it had to be part of our top 10. But would I recommend it? No, I mean,
but I don't even think I wasn't even planning to ask you if you recommend it because everyone else has read it. Like you're one of the last people that hasn't read it. Salman Rushdie has read this book. Like,
I know,
let's be
I'm the
clear.
last person of the party.
Truly,
I mean, Gandhi's dead and he's probably read it too. It's like,
I think everyone has read this book. So it's not, for me, it's not a question of like, would you recommend it?
You think mom and dad read this book?
We'll have to ask them. Should we call them right now? Let's give them an 11 p.m. drunk dial.
Oh yeah, like we used to in college.
All the time.
Oh yeah.
They would hate us.
Dad would be like, is it the hospital? Who's dying? And it's like, we're at a party. Whoa!
And our friends would can we call your parents? Well, because they always answered and they were always nice. And funny about it. They were like, what's going on, kids? You guys having fun? And clearly they were sleeping. But no, they were great college parents. They nailed it. And the fact that I think I asked mom about it at some point and she was like, I mean, it felt good that like our kids were out at college parties and people were like, let's call your parents. She was like, that's cool that like you guys wanted us to be a part of your night.
And they were at every siblings weekend. They were at every parents weekend. You and
Dad tell everyone your record.
My dad and I won 21 games of beer pong in a row.
And still hold the record.
Still hold the record. And the game that we finally got beat on went to like 12 overtimes.
Who did you lose to?
Casey and his dad.
Yeah.
And
this is Casey's episode.
This is Casey's episode. And we but they also got invited to like all of our
their
weddings too. Mm-hmm. So our parents party.
Our parents were great parents. They were very fun.
And they're going to suggest this podcast to all their friends and
Please don't. I don't know if I can look. If that is just, if anybody like over 65 is listening to this podcast, I don't know if I can look them in the eye again.
Oh, dead straight eye contact.
No.
Oh man. All right. Well, what do we have coming up next week, Helen?
I don't know. You asked me. No, I don't know. I never check. I always check. Oh wait. Dashton Lasso. Dashton.
Done and Dusted.
Done and Dusted.
By Lila Sage.
I love this book.
Yeah, she's great. It's great. If you're liking us and everything else, please rate, subscribe.
Yes.
Do all that shit on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts.
Hit the follow button.
Hit the follow button. Generally show us and shower us with praise. Golden shower us with praise, please.
Oh, God. Not me. You know what? I don't need that.
So next week, Done and Dusted. Helen, get on it. by Lila Sage. And I think the only other thing that we need to really say is thank you for listening, and please tune in next week, Smutters.
Thank you for listening. Stay smutty.
Stay smutty.
Stay smutty.
Stay smutty. And out.
Bye.